I've put on a little holiday weight. This is the last thing. I was just saying, I was noticing it because when I went to make my coffee, I also went to the bathroom and I was eating a rice cake with a piece of cheese on it as I peed, standing there, just looking down at this Wolverine shirt hanging a little further out than it should over my gut and thinking maybe it's the cheese that's doing this. Do you ever eat in the bathroom? It's not. Going in, I know it's not.
I can't.
But
I can't say that I have ever eaten in the bathroom. No.
really, I picture you bringing like a sub or something, and you've never done that. I mean, I don't picture it, but I could conceive it.
I don't think so.
It's not. It don't start. It's gross.
When I was younger, I would drink in the bathroom, quietly alone in the tub.
Like a juice box.
Yeah, alcohol, lots.
How young? Wait, when are you talking?
Well, 20s.
Oh, okay.
You know, our years.
Bathtub, really?
Together.
Okay, I didn't know that.
You know, I'd steal myself away during parties or whatnot in the bathroom.
And you just
once in a while
sit in the bathroom. Oh, so the water's not running. You're just sitting in the tub with a beer,
drinking. Yeah.
Wow. Maybe we should talk about that.
We probably should, but not this episode.
Not between, yeah, and maybe not on something that's recording it. Hey everyone ever, and welcome to 20th Century Popcast, the show where we try to understand the present while living in the past. My name is Tim Blevins.
And I am Bob Canning. And here we are again, Tim.
We're on microphones, talking to each other, trying to maybe move things along a little bit, and I find that if I don't either stumble or acknowledge our failures, we usually get into the topic pretty quick. So that might be worth rolling it out this week that way is probably what I was trying to say.
That's a perfect 20th Century Popcast opening. Nice
I
job.
think so. I mean, I don't know what the pantheon of them are. Like, if I'm sure there's no fan ranking 51 openings now, but if there was, I don't think and when you rank 50 is the lowest and one, I guess it would be the highest. That one's probably in the 20s somewhere, but it was good.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's nice and clean, and then a perfect, well, not perfect, but a pretty good stumble into the next part.
Yeah, I thought it'd be interesting today to go back and maybe play the other 50 intros to the show and discuss in depth we don't have to do that. We're not going to do any of that.
What are we going to do?
Well, I know
what we're going to do, but why don't you tell everyone what we are actually going to do
today on the show? Well, today on the show where we talk, what do we talk? We talk about pop culture on a week-to-week basis. I don't think we've missed an episode where we haven't mentioned pop culture and our like and affection for pop culture. And I think in this pantheon of things, TV, film, music, I think, and I wish I had thought of that when we were putting this together. It didn't just have to be movies, but that's how I viewed it anyways.
I was thinking about the topic, and I have a couple of music things to talk about.
Oh, great. Imagine if I had laid on line what the topic was. People would be like, oh, I can't wait to hear that. But right now they're like, music?
No, it's suspenseful.
It is suspenseful. And so here, let me break that suspense by saying pop culture, classics of pop culture. There are things that you and I love that we get why people love. Star Wars, When Harry Met Sally, Pulp Fiction. I mean, just things that were a big deal. We saw them, we get them. And when somebody says, hey, I never saw Star Wars or hey, what's I can't think of pop culture. What's Friends maybe or something like that. It would strike us as weird. It would strike us as odd because this is pop culture that's out there. We think people should.
Who hasn't seen Back to the Future, and why not?
Exactly, right? I mean, they have to at least be aware of it. And chances are people are aware of it, but they may not have seen it. So their experience with it or their interaction with it comes from other people's references, other people's conversations, and other shows' references and conversations. Like you watch a show like The Simpsons, you watch a show like Family Guy, you watch a show like a lot of animated programs at the very least, but something like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer or even the X-Files. There's going to be things mentioned, things spoken of, things dropped in the conversation between characters or in scenes that are homages or references or somehow pointing their finger back to a piece of entertainment from the past.
Parodies. I think we've seen plenty of parodies of past pop culture.
Yeah, parody is actually a way to do it. I think, you're taking something, a genre or a certain character or storyline, and you're making jokes about it. And what I find interesting is when someone's experiencing the parody, experiencing the mockery of the genre, but they don't know the source material. They only know it from this filter of something that is taking this piece of what, someone who's well versed in the pop culture is taking it and putting it into theirs as a reference point. And we all kind of get those reference points, but sometimes, and this is what we're going to talk about today, sometimes that reference point is just that. It's like a stopper or a marker or something in the bigger landscape of the classic of pop culture. And yet, if we haven't seen that piece or experienced that piece, then all we really have is the name of that piece and an expectancy of this piece. What's odd is I'm having such a hard time explaining what I'm talking about. Could you word it in a nicer way, what we're doing today, so we can just get into it?
I saw you I watched your Instagram video where you were kind of hyping this, and you described it as pop culture that we haven't seen or don't care to see, or maybe aren't interested in seeing because we're all too familiar with the references to it or the parodies of it.
Sure. Okay.
Or the homages.
My Instagram said that?
Sort of.
I got to follow that. That's great. Yeah, no, I think that's true. There are things in pop culture that are so big, everybody knows it, but they may not know it because of the pop culture. And I think for me, at least, a lot of times, something that's been hyped in the past, something that's big, something that's considered a piece of pop culture history, if I've heard about it too many times, if too many people have talked about it, or if it's kind of just always been there and I didn't experience it at a young age, I'm never going to go back. I'm not going to head back to it. Do you have that experience? Do you have that sensation?
I do. There are a few examples. Can I name a few?
Yeah. Do you want? Well, that's what we're talking about today. I mean, do you want to name a few, or do you want to jump right into one, just so that people know what we're kind of talking about?
I think the big one. Yeah, I think the big one for me that I haven't gone back to, that I've seen references to. I know those references, and I know I don't know the movie, and I'm sure it's fantastic, but I have very little interest to see it, and that's The Godfather.
1972's The Godfather.
I think that's the one.
Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather.
Yes, sir.
Horsehead in a bed, The Godfather.
Horsehead in a bed. That's not going to shock me because I know there's a horsehead in a bed. I know there's a cannoli. So, but that's not the movie. I understand that that's not the movie. I know that there's so much more to the movie. It's a well-made, well-crafted,
the greatest American movie ever made.
Exactly, and I should see it, but I don't really have a drive to see it because it's just been talked about so much and on so many top 10 lists and referenced in so many various ways that, it's like I feel like it'd be a job to sit down and watch it, and I don't want to have to feel that way.
Well, this is interesting because this is actually a little different, I think, from what I was looking at, which is good. I mean, one of the things you just said is it's been on so many top 10 lists. It's considered a great piece. And I guess if you're hearing that all the time, it would be odd to me that you wouldn't want to rush out and see what's considered one of, you like film. I know you do. I've seen movies with you. We sat in the theater and saw Armageddon. So I know you like loud movies. You probably like well-made movies. Why?
I just want to quickly make something clear. We didn't necessarily choose to see Armageddon. We just wanted a nice place to take a nap.
Hard to do, loudest movie ever made, but The Godfather, greatest movie ever made, which I have also never seen. Do you think it's spite? Is that why you haven't gone for this piece of pop culture? Haven't gone to see it?
It might be a little. I think at this point in my life, it's probably a bit of that because it's just like, okay, I've gone this long. Why, I'm not going to do it now, and you can't make me, kind of thing.
So there's a little bit of pride or sense of self-placement, like I'm not part of that, and you're not going to get me to see that. Well, why do you think everybody likes it, though? Why do you, before that, how did you first, or when do you think you first knew what The Godfather was, or when did you first encounter a reference to it that you're like, oh, that's a movie?
Gosh, I don't know. You know what I probably really started to understand that The Godfather was a thing was when The Freshman came out,
Yeah, actually,
which was
yes, I remember that. 1990, The Freshman is the movie. What is it for people who maybe don't follow crap movies that never went anywhere by Andrew Bergman?
I don't know exactly what it is, but it involves because I saw it once
You
and
actually saw it. I've
didn't.
only seen the trailers for it.
I think I saw it. I have a vague recollection of seeing it, and it's Matthew Broderick, and he has to do something with this gentleman who may or may not actually be the Godfather from the Godfather movies. I think, and it's and now I can't think of the actor. What the
Marlon
hell?
Brando?
Marlon Brando. Thank you. And he's in The
Superman's
Freshman.
Marlon Brando, and Superman Returns is Marlon Brando.
Guys and Dolls, Marlon Brando. Um, yeah, he's playing the Godfather role in this movie, and I think it's supposed to be like this is actually him, but I can't remember if that's true or not.
Well, and you saw it, so I don't mean to challenge that.
I saw it. I saw it during this heyday of me going to see a bunch of movies with my friends in my high school years.
Yeah, this would have been the summer of 1990, so you would have been coming out of ninth grade.
I saw movies that I probably wouldn't have gone to see, except that that's just what we did, and that happened to be the movie that was starting when we got to the movie theater. You know what I mean? Like that's what we did. I saw Presumed Innocent that way too.
I saw Presumed Innocent by choice, but
I saw it by choice too, but I wish I hadn't.
Yeah, that's how I saw Career Opportunities. But this, The Freshman, I think it's not. I think it's a good starting point now that we're however many minutes, 10 minutes into this episode to start with The Freshman, because I do remember this coming out, and it, like you're saying, it was at an age. I think you were saying it's an age you went to the movies. It was an age where I was aware of movies, and I think I was aware of highbrow, lowbrow, intellectual versus dumb. Like I liked stuff like The Naked Gun. I liked stuff, like pratfalls and things, but I was finding smarter comedies, stuff like Annie Hall, When Harry Met Sally, things that we always mention on the show. So a commercial like The Freshman, I remember seeing it on TV, and the gist that I got was Matthew Broderick I think it's a Komodo dragon. He has to somehow transport this Komodo dragon for this big mafia mob boss that Matthew Broderick's character in the movie keeps commenting, he looks a lot like the guy. Doesn't he look just like the guy, short of saying from The Godfather? But he's aware. I think in the movie's universe, my impression was The Godfather existed, and this guy looked just like him, and Matthew Broderick couldn't grasp that he looked so much like him, and that was maybe the joke of it. So it was like this meta joke. You have the actor right there. You have him doing a lot of the motions. Again, this is from the trailers, motions and dialogue from the movie. But it's a movie that, for whatever the movie was about, and you saw it, it sounds like you were just saying it, I thought it was predicated on the concept of what if a mob boss looked just like The Godfather, which isn't funny, but at the time seemed like, oh, okay, I get what they're doing there. They're taking this classic movie, they're building a movie around it, and isn't it so funny that he keeps saying, doesn't he look like? Doesn't he look like? And it's the actor.
Yeah.
So for that all to work, you have to have knowledge of what The Godfather is. But I think that's all you need. Again, I haven't seen The Freshman, but I remember wanting to. I remember thinking that's a smart movie. That's an intellectual movie. I got to see that because that does look funny. Because they're going to stick it to The Godfather, I guess. But no, that was one of the things I was thinking about too, because it's not, I don't know if they're parodying scenes, but it's the fucking actor. And you have, for that movie to work, you have to know Marlon Brando played The Godfather. But that's all you have to know, I assume.
Yeah, I would assume too, and I just feel bad that I've seen the movie, but I have no recollection of the plot. I can't tell you if all you need to know is that he played The Godfather, or if it makes more sense and is more meta if you know The Godfather. And I wouldn't be able to tell you that either. Anyway, since I haven't seen The Godfather.
I haven't either, but I remember this advertising campaign, and it really worked on me. I mean, I think at age 14, not getting it, I thought that's probably a funny idea, but it's a smart comedy. I mean, first time I was exposed to The Godfather was on Saturday Night Live. In like the early and mid 80s, they would rerun the original 5 seasons of Saturday Night Live in these half-hour packages, like at 7:30 at night. My brother and I used to watch this a lot, and there were videotapes that also collected them that were like the best of Dan Aykroyd, the best of Gilda Radner, and there's this one VHS tape called the best of John Belushi that we used to rent every other week for some reason from this little video store in the town next to us. Eventually, to the point that I think it went on sale. Like they would sometimes sell their old videos that weren't renting anymore, and I scooped it up and bought that and was so happy to have that. I'm like, I have a Saturday Night Live, whatever. I was thrilled by it. There's a sketch on that of John Belushi playing whatever the Godfather's name is, the Marlon Brando character's name, Steve Father, and he has an orange peel in his mouth, and he's kind of lumbering around, going, like funny, and then I think he chokes and dies on the orange peel. And I would see this, and I thought it was funny because John Belushi is this physical tornado, and he's got an orange in his peel in his mouth. He's like a gorilla or something, this little kid, and he's rolling around, and he chokes and he dies. I would watch this tape with my dad, and my dad would be laughing at the sketch as well. I would be laughing at the sketch because it's funny, and we must have watched it a few times. I think he asked me, "Do you know why that's funny?" I said, "Sure." Got an orange peel in his mouth, but he's like, no, that he's parodying The Godfather. It's a parody of this movie, The Godfather, and that's all he said. But somewhere in my head, I'm like, oh, that's smart. That must be clever. That must be something. So he's this big lumbering guy with an orange peel in his mouth. I don't know. I guess in the movie, here's a spoiler alert for The Godfather, having not seen it. I guess that's how his character dies. I think he's playing with a like a niece or a nephew, and he chokes somehow. I think it's supposed to be sad and tragic, but they made this funny joke of it in his mouth. That's what I knew. I know John Belushi with his exorbitant eyebrows and everything doing that. So if I ever see this fucking death scene of Marlon Brando that's supposed to move you to tears when this massive killing man dies trying to entertain a child, all I'm going to think of is that damn orange peel in John Belushi's mouth. It's not going to work. Yeah. Similar to the fucking horse head, which I think is one of the biggest things that come out of this movie that's been parodied. I found a YouTube montage of horsehead jokes in kids' cartoons. I mean, I probably first saw there's a Simpsons episode in the first season called The Telltale Head, where Bart wants to impress some early versions of like Jimbo and Kearney, the thug kids from the school. So the bullies, thank you. And they convince him to vandalize the Jebediah Springfield statue, I think by chopping the head off maybe of the statue.
Yeah, he ends up sawing it off.
Right, yeah. And he takes it home, I guess, because he wakes up with it in his bed. He rolls over and it's there. And it's supposed to be this parody of the horsehead scene. And then, I've seen, there's other cartoons that do it. There's movies that do it with a stuffed animal, a stuffed bear. There's dumb sitcoms called Yes, Dear and other things that do it as well. It's been done to death that if I ever see this scene where someone wakes up with this horse head, it's going to be pretty funny. There's no shock value to it. There's no, the poor horse. I don't even think I'll feel my normal pangs of sadness for a dead animal. I think it'll just be funny because it's been done as a joke.
Right.
And my understanding is that was a shocking scene when people saw it for the first time, but it's been diluted, it's been repeated, and to expect it. So it's kind of like, I don't see how that could have the impact that the story in the movie should have. And that might be why, we're talking about why we haven't sought it out. My dad has tried to show me this movie a couple times, within the last 20 years, because he had it on videotape, two cassette tapes to contain the whole movie. And we would sit down and we would watch it. And honestly, the beginning is interesting. There's this wedding scene. People are coming in to ask the Godfather favors. And it seemed intriguing to me, but we would always watch it at night. And I would always be tired. I would close my eyes and I would just sleep through The Godfather. It's not like video stores have never existed. And it's not like I can't track it down in a library. There's no high demand for it that I can't find a copy of this. But I've never gone to pursue it because I don't have the drive to see it, because all the key scenes are kind of jokes to me now, or known at least.
Sure. And you'd have to watch it at 7 a.m.
to make it through. So yes, maybe while standing.
The whole day.
But I mean, this is a greatest hit film. This is what people say cinema in the 70s was.
And I think if you and I were, we're movie fans for sure. I think if we were film students, and if it was something that our careers were based on, I think it would be something we'd seek out, but not on the level of let's enjoy this movie, but more as like a study. it'd still be viewed on a different level than just entertainment.
You think it would be?
If we had that, I think because we don't have a different drive, since we're just viewing something for entertainment, we're put off by it at this point.
I don't know if I understand that, though, because I mean, it is entertainment. When The Godfather hit, it was entertainment.
And I guess for me, I'm saying, like, if I had a different reason to watch The Godfather, maybe because I was studying filmmaking, or I had to take a Godfather quiz to get my kids into a good college or something. But if I'm just sitting down because, hey, I want to be entertained tonight, I want to watch a good movie, if that was one of the choices, I'd pass it by. Because again, I feel like it wouldn't be as impactful as maybe it had been if I'd watched it earlier in my life, where I wasn't exposed to it as this pop culture phenomenon, and as you're pointing out, comically in all these other variants.
So if something's a phenomenon, if something's big, if something's huge in our lifetime and we somehow missed it, that's something you don't go back to?
I find that perhaps it might be harder to go back to. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I asked that as a question. I totally know the answer. Yeah, I don't. I have too much spite over people in groups who like something.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. And that's why you do it?
That's why I didn't see this next movie. You're talking about going to something for entertainment. And I think big blockbusters, big time films, big screen, summer movies have always entertained me. And a lot of people would say the Godfather of summer movies, to segue out of that segment, or to say, the movie that kicked off this idea of a summer blockbuster was 1975's get the fuck out of the water snuff film, Jaws. Have you seen Jaws? Have you seen this Jaws?
I have seen Jaws. And I saw Jaws when I was younger, much younger. Oh. Probably before I should have seen Jaws.
You saw it as a kid?
Yeah, I was a kid when I saw Jaws.
I mean, I was too scared as a kid, I think, to see it. I knew it existed. I'll tell you why I knew it fucking existed. It was because of that music. Sure. You had the dun of something coming back and forth. And that was used in the film, I guess, very well. I knew it because it was used in Airplane 2, and it was used, I think, on more Saturday Night Live sketches with that sand shark knocking at the door. There was jokes at the expense of Jaws, and there was jokes at the expense of the shark itself. That sand shark on Saturday Night Live was this kind of funny looking mask that came in and ate people. Go jump ahead 14 years to Back to the Future Part 2, and we get this 3D Jaws in the future. And the whole joke of that is that the shark still looks fake. I mean, I knew these setups to it. That's how I heard about Jaws, because honestly, everyone around me had seen Jaws. I was scared to see it. It wasn't on TV a lot, so it's not like I flipped past it. So I don't know where everyone else was seeing it, but I just did not see it. And then it kind of mellowed down in my head to the point that when I got to college, surrounded by, we're going to say film scholars, but surrounded by Spielberg fans, surrounded by people who loved the movies of the 80s that we all grew up with, the Star Wars films, the Indiana Jones films, Close Encounters, the Goonies, all of these things, Labyrinth. I could just list names and movies. Liking a lot of those same movies, having not seen Jaws, Steven Spielberg's first real cinematic hit, people couldn't get over the concept that I hadn't seen it. That people couldn't believe you've never seen Jaws. That was the thing, like we've already discussed probably, where it's like, you haven't seen this movie Jaws? How can you not have seen Jaws? That, yeah, this one is the one that became sort of a badge. This is the one where it's kind of like, man, I'm not going to see it. I would have seen it on my own will, but now I'm never going to see it because everybody was shocked I couldn't see this film. Now, you said you were too young when you saw it. How did you get to it, though? How did you achieve seeing it? And did you know what it was?
I didn't know it as this big Steven Spielberg. I didn't know who Steven Spielberg was when I saw the movie. No.
How old were you, or how young were you?
I don't know. I think we've mentioned my my not so great babysitter.
Yes, I was wondering if that was going to come up.
Yeah. So my not so great babysitter, who I probably was only babysat by for like a year and a half, like a summer and maybe part of a school year. I can't quite remember. Maybe it was 2 summers in a row. She had cable, she had HBO, she had Cinemax. She also babysat a lot of kids, and I was kind of the older one, so I was sort of left to do my own thing. And my own thing often was watching HBO because I didn't have it in my own house. And so that is probably where I came to it. Although I think I might have come to it before that, because there were times where I'd watched it later and things were more graphic than I remember them being. So maybe I had seen it, cut for content on a ABC movie night or something. But yeah, it's probably a combination of those two places.
But as a kid who has access to HBO you said HBO is at the right channel?
Yeah.
At your babysitter's house, what was the draw of watching this particular movie? Why would you sit and watch what at that time was probably a 6-year-old movie, Jaws?
Now that we're mentioning it, I probably saw Jaws 2 first. Which is probably what
How did you follow it?
Led me to Jaws. Because I remember the boat scene first. Yeah, I remember when I first saw Jaws 2, and you haven't seen Jaws 2, I would imagine.
No, but I've seen the poster to Jaws, so I assume if it's like the poster to Jaws.
I would really love for you to have seen Jaws 2, Jaws 3D, and Jaws the Revenge, but not Jaws.
Of the Jaws saga, I think I've seen the most of Jaws the Revenge. Like that's the one I remember that one coming out, but more so that's with Michael Caine, that's with Mario Van Peebles. That's one I think where the shark, I believe, follows a plane. Not in another plane, but it might as well have been in a cab or something. But I think it swims. But that's for some reason that Jaws the Revenge I was aware of because I remember it coming out, and I've gone to that one on TV a few times and watched scenes of it. Also, though, Jaws the Revenge I was aware of as being a bad movie when it came out.
Yeah.
I was aware of it kind of being a joke. And before that, I mean, I think before Jaws in 3D, National Lampoon, the National Lampoon comedy magazine was working on a sequel called, I think, Jaws 3 People Nothing. And it was supposed to be a parody of the Jaws movies, but part of the Jaws franchise. And I don't know how I was aware of that as a kid, but I somehow knew that was something they had worked on and that was a joke. So I must have been reading about Jaws. Definitely was part of the conversation. I get that it was Spielberg's film, but I knew Jaws, I guess, as the movie everyone talked about. But then, yeah, I just knew it as this movie that's fake. Because Jaws the Revenge was so loathed and hated and mocked and made fun of, and because the jokes I often hear about Jaws, like in Back to the Future Part 2, is the shark looks fake, I didn't have the pull to go into this thing because it sounded like, okay, that's a rickety movie. That's a shoddy movie. That's a joke of a movie. Just kind of poisoned by later entries in it. I mean, are there movies that have maybe you've steered clear of because you know the fallout of them? You're a little older when, say, Highlander 3 or RoboCop 3 or Mask 3 comes out, the Eric Stoltz Mask.
And you're saying I wouldn't go back and watch the original Mask because the third one was so poor?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I mean, a fine example for me is The Matrix. I'll watch The Matrix, the original Matrix, if it's on. I'll
you
stop
had
and
seen
watch
it. You had already. We both saw The Matrix when it came out.
Yeah,
I'm talking about something like, is there, because a lot of times as a kid you're gonna like if something like a James Bond. I didn't know what Dr. No, if that's the first one. I think the first James Bond I was aware of, like really aware of, was probably Never Say Never Again because I remember the commercials for it. But the first one I saw on TV was probably For Your Eyes Only some night on a rerun. So that's my introduction to James Bond. And I'm just wondering, is there something where you come in later into the game and because of how it's viewed, because of how people talk about it, you don't go back and ever see the original because it's been soiled or tainted or somehow, like squeezed out?
No, I can't think of an example. I mean,
squeezed out, by the way. I don't know why I phrased that. Sorry. So if somebody had squeezed out, the later seasons of One Day at a Time, would you have watched the first 6 seasons of the 10 season One Day at a Time?
I'm not one to see a sequel if I hadn't seen the previous.
But were you
movie.
that choosy as a kid? Like, did you have the ability? Like, because I'm thinking now, like as a kid, I saw stuff out of order all the time. I didn't care. It was on TV.
Yeah, I guess that's true. That's true. You're right. I guess I got to go back. And in fact, Jaws 2 was that way. I had seen Jaws 2 first. I didn't think Jaws 2 was a bad movie. I thought it was, tense and frightening and had a shark in it and action. And
the shark's in Jaws 2. Is it his mother in the first one? Is that the twist?
I don't think they link the sharks in Jaws 2.
I think it's supposed to be one of the sharks that was related to Jaws in the first Jaws.
Yeah. That's the revenge. That's what they
I
think.
think so.
But I feel like we've lost focus a little bit.
Well, we're talking about movies. I guess I was curious with the angle maybe of just, when we get into things as a kid and we're not aware of the bigger picture, sometimes it's more easier to accept it. And I was thinking like, if I, as a child, I guess if a sequel was on TV, I'd watch it without fearing I got to see the first one. But now I would never do that. I don't start many shows a few seasons in without backtracking. But you're right. We've lost track a little bit. Been talking movies. Is there? You had said you might have something outside of the movie genre that might somehow make sense of this topic that honestly I'm now having trouble with.
Well, I was thinking, about artists that are so huge that maybe you just don't bother trying to get into them.
Like musical artists?
Yeah, like musical artists. And the few that came to mind were artists like David Bowie, Bob Dylan, Michael Jackson. And for me, no. I was going to say for me, I enjoy listening to those. For me, there's one that I kind of don't try to get into. Mm-hmm. Not that I dislike them necessarily. I like their music, but I'm not backtracking and making sure I get all their albums. And for me, that's Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah,
He's a god to so many people.
He is a god to so many people.
And I believe the man is immensely talented. Born to Run is a phenomenal song, but
is it?
I think so.
Is it?
But
you know what he does in that song? He counts, but the song's already going. But he counts. And I'm pretty sure if you add a couple of jingle bells, that's a Christmas carol. Do you like Born to Run?
I enjoyed Born to Run.
I think in the right song, he does count in towards the end, right? Like the band plays for a while and then he goes 1, 2, 3, and then he just sings the whole thing again, but with more passion and more genes.
That's possible. I don't know. I guess I don't know it well enough to be able to tell you for sure.
Yeah, Bruce Springsteen is a great example because I'm not a fan of Bruce Springsteen.
Okay. But you see, you're not a fan because you don't think he's good? Talented?
Well, he is talented. He's very talented, and he seems like a great man. And they seem like a great band. And you're right, people do love him. But what you know some of his songs? Did you know his songs growing up? Were you aware of Bruce Springsteen growing up?
I became aware of Bruce Springsteen with the Born in the USA album and everything.
What a crap use of that song the world has made. From what I understand, a misunderstanding of it. But I hate that song.
Yeah. Have you gone back to it since you've gotten an understanding of what it's about?
No, and I think I probably used to like it, by the way, too. I'm just trying to get my anti-America political stance going just because I think I'm monitored now through my internet. I've heard that, yeah, it's not the rah-rah song that the Reagans were using it for. But no, so Bruce Springsteen, that you were kind of, when was that the first song you were kind of aware of him?
Yeah, I became aware of that. Tunnel of Love might have been another album.
That's a bad song.
But I didn't realize he had a...
Into the tunnel! Is that the right song? Am I doing a really spot-on impression? Or is it just like maybe I had a seizure?
I had no idea that he had an existence prior to those albums. Until much
we were
later.
Kids. Yeah. No, I didn't either. And do you have a Bruce Springsteen album?
I don't own any Bruce Springsteen.
God, no, neither do I. I have to say, I like the song that they use in Jerry Maguire. I like that song. I like that. What's that one? Hey, little bit of what's that song called?
I don't remember the title of that one.
Something about fire, maybe.
Yeah.
What's that one called? People cover it. I can't think of what it is. Heather Nova covers it on a live album. That's mainly why I knew it.
Okay.
Do you know the song I'm talking about? You just said no, but I'm going to ask you again.
I know the song you're talking about. And
what is it called? It's something...
Take a moment to not hear you singing it.
Okay, so you want me to not sing it for a minute?
I might be able to think of what the title is.
What if I put the album on? Here, this is Bruce Springsteen. Hey, little baby, when you had it, fire, lightning strong. No, I don't. Yeah,
I think fire is in the title somewhere. Yeah, I think you're on the right track.
I'm on fire. Baby, I'm on fire. Maybe
that's probably it. Light my fire.
That could be it. That sounds like it would be a good title for something.
For
I
something.
bet that'd be a quick song, though. I bet that'd be a song that you're like, oh, you blink and you miss it. Not that your ears blink, but it's like, oh, that song could have used maybe a different instrument. It sure had a lot of keyboard in that song. You know what? Why don't we talk to them? There's someone I know them. I know the Doors, and I guess I like them. We can't really go down that route because I had some of their albums, but why did you think of Bruce Springsteen? Like, he's on your mind, right? He is somehow ingrained.
Yeah, because he's an institution.
But with
when it comes
him, he is an institution. You're right. And admired, and for a lot of reasons. I know him more now as someone who speaks well of working class people, who speaks out against corporate politicians. I mean, I know him for some viewpoints that I admire. He seems very dedicated. He dedicated a song to my brother once. That was very sweet at a concert. So, I mean, he seems like a good guy, but we knew his songs in the 80s. Do you like what you hear? Do you like old Bruce Springsteen if you happen to catch it? Because this is something interesting with musicians. It's hard to catch the gist of a movie if it's playing somewhere. Like if a movie's on in the background, you're not paying attention to it, you're not going to get it. But musicians, like this example, you're still going to hear Bruce Springsteen. You may not go back and get all the albums, but you hear it. So do you like him? Are you a fan?
I guess
of the songs that you hear?
I'm not a fan per se. I like a couple of the songs. I don't mind Born to Run. I like that. Christmas.
That's not a good impression of
I like
anything.
Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I don't get tired of that.
Oh, God. He does do that. And he counts in that one probably, too.
He counts in all the songs. I mean, that's how music works.
It's how a metronome works. And he could easily, maybe not the first 4 albums, but by now he can afford a metronome.
But
it's not fooling anyone by counting. No, but so like as a kid, the music, we just talked music 2 episodes ago by the time this one goes up, but thinking back to a kid, and I think I'm right on this, we both experienced music through the radio.
Yeah.
So to have someone on the radio like Bruce Springsteen, you're aware of him. So is it later in life that people were really praising and gushing about Bruce Springsteen to you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's when I'm learning that he has these phenomenal albums from the 70s, and that he is, just this great rocker, a true rocker, a true American. I don't know if they say that, but
do you feel like, I guess with this one, and this might help me understand it, because I think it's similar to movies, but I'm approaching it differently. You're saying you don't like him. There's so many musicians in the world, or you don't own his. What are you saying? I'm putting a word in your mouth there.
Well, I'm saying, I mean, it's similar to, something like The Godfather, which is, again, just this entity that exists above all other films. He, in a way, Bruce Springsteen is a musician who exists above all other musicians, to some. And maybe because of that, and because of that popularity, and because of what other people say, I'm less inclined to seek out anything beyond what is, as you stated, just kind of presented on the radio.
But why? And I'm, by the way, I'm with you on this. I'm not challenging what you're saying. I'm trying to figure something out. Like someone else who's heralded as important to music is Elvis Presley. I've never felt a tinge about trying to get an Elvis Presley album, pursuing Elvis. I don't like Elvis. I don't get Elvis, but it doesn't bother me, or I don't think about it. It's not like I just don't care for it. It doesn't click with me. And I've seen Elvis on TV or footage of him, whatever. But with Bruce Springsteen, there is this question of, or the statement of, I don't like him. It feels different. Like, and maybe I am twisting your words here, but it sounds like you almost feel like there's a question of, well, why don't I like Bruce Springsteen? Why? Because he's the one you went to. He's the example.
Yeah, well, I think because it's sort of like The Godfather. I think if I were to sit down and listen to a Bruce Springsteen album, or sit down and actually watch The Godfather, I would find that I enjoy it.
So you think you would?
I probably would.
But we're denying ourselves this enjoyment then, just to maintain something, a distance from it?
I think it's not necessarily that I'm trying to maintain a distance. I think it's just, for me, it would be an effort I don't want to put in.
Well, that makes sense. I was going to say, at the end of the day, The Godfather, it's a matter of time. I don't have time. I've never made the time to watch that movie. But Jaws, it is definitely just I'm never going to see that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I guess the other side of it, and music is a little more flexible with this, so let's focus on this. It's interesting because I think we're both thinking, yeah, we're not into Bruce Springsteen. It's very easy to listen to a Bruce Springsteen song. In fact, we both do it. You want to do it again? A little bit, but no, we both do it. So it's kind of like, why do we feel we're supposed to, but why are we supposed to do more? We're experiencing the music anyways. What is it at the end of the day that we're thinking this, where other people have ruined this for us? I mean, that's where we started with this, is pop culture that ruins other pop culture was the original start of this episode. But what it's kind of funneled into is, I feel like fans of pop culture are ruining this pop culture for us. But I think at the end of it, what was that?
I'm saying, yeah, it looks like that's the way it's come.
But no one is coming at me saying, you've got to listen to Bruce Springsteen. They're saying, I enjoy listening to Bruce Springsteen. I mean, do you have people saying, how do you not like Bruce Springsteen? Or are you asking yourself that question?
I guess I'm asking myself that question because, no, I don't have anyone directly posing that question to me. But I do have the world at large, pop culture at large, decrying that he is an artist to know.
Mm-hmm. And we know.
And these are, but to know more, to own the albums or to hear the albums. I haven't heard a full, I don't even think I've heard Born in the USA completely. And I think that was owned by my brother.
Wow, he must be rich because a lot of people bought that album.
I don't follow.
So if somebody owns the album, they would get a lot of royalties off of the
I see.
Off the album. But here's the thing. Do you think the world that worships Bruce Springsteen, yeah, he's got his fans and he got the people with the albums, but a lot of those people know the same songs we know. They know his radio hits. They know his appearance on TV. Nothing's being hidden from us. There's deep tracks. There's non-radio hits that we're not hearing, and we don't have the physical item of the album. But and again, totally agreeing with you on this, because Bruce Springsteen, I think, is a good example of this. But what at the end of the day, what is the difference between me and most of the world that also experiences Bruce Springsteen through the radio? I mean, Born in the USA came out at a time where I wasn't buying albums, so I don't have it. And does having the album, does that have to be the measurement of being a fan? Because there's, I've since gone and bought a lot of my music. I don't have any Police albums. I like the Police. I don't feel like I have to have their albums. I've had them in the past, I guess. But I don't feel like I'm missing out because I don't have the complete body of work of the Police. I guess I have that box set, so in a way I do. But, it's not on display. Why is Bruce Springsteen, who we all know, because this is the thing, you can't not know Bruce Springsteen. It's impossible, right?
Yeah.
So why are we feeling like we're missing something? What is it that we're not? Is it we don't own it? Is it that we feel the need to be deeply versed in an artist's every piece and every whim and every track? I mean, at the end of the day, what is it that we feel is ruined about this guy that we know we could right now list 5-6 songs? That's 5 or 6 songs. That's a lot of songs.
Well, we could also list, and I think you did, I think, list 5 or 6 moments and scenes from The Godfather that we're aware of.
I'm aware of those moments as parodies and as jokes.
And I think you have done a pretty good job of parodying Bruce Springsteen.
Homage. You've done a pretty good homage of Bruce Springsteen.
And we've seen other parodies, on sketch shows and whatnot.
But at the end of the day, and maybe this is what it is. It's people versus the art. And maybe this conversation takes either a dive bomb or a twist. The Godfather is a single piece of work. Or Jaws. Let's say Jaws for a minute, because I get why I haven't seen Jaws. It's a choice. I love Steven Spielberg's movies, Close Encounters, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Here, let me just read a list of his movies. No, I love a lot of his movies. So the question would almost be, well, how have you not seen Jaws then? That's his first movie. But in reality, I don't have to see everything he does, nor have I. And is it some sort of a pissing contest or action figure on your shelf display to be like, I've seen everything Spielberg has done? I don't know if Jaws is his greatest movie. I think Close Encounters is, and I've seen that multiple times, and I love it. So I love Spielberg. Like, do we have to know an entire person's body of work? Is that how you prove that? And why do we need to prove anything? So when I guess in that sense, if the conversation is about Spielberg, I can still talk about Spielberg. If it's about Jaws, I can talk less. Conversation about Bruce Springsteen, you and I can talk Bruce Springsteen. We know his songs. We maybe can't talk about the album Born in the USA because I don't know what's on that. I think Born in the USA, but we can still talk about him. And again, this is the thing. Like, I think I have the same feeling you have about him, but now I don't get it. Because I'm like, why are we creating that feeling in the first place? Why are we just that desperate for a topic of an episode? No, because these are feelings we've had. But is there something inherently in us that we are afraid to attach to Bruce Springsteen, or to the fans of Bruce Springsteen? Because like you like trying to think of like a smaller band. You like the Beatles, right?
Sure.
I like the Beatles. You like Neutral Milk Hotel, right?
I do.
A lot of people like Neutral Milk Hotel. I mean, these, it's like we're comfortable being parts of these groups and identifying because we like it. Bruce Springsteen, I could put on a couple of Bruce Springsteen songs and enjoy them. And yet, like you, I'm saying I'm not a fan. Why do we have to declare that we're not a fan of something when we are, first of all? And two, who cares? There's plenty of things we're not a fan of. One, could we never experience it? Or two, because it doesn't talk to us. We don't own jean jackets. So we're never going to get the full body of Bruce Springsteen's work. But why do we have to point? Why does that stick out for us?
I think maybe you and I both have, consciously or not, a bit of a chip on our shoulder in that we don't want to be told what we should be a fan of, or what we should like. Excuse me, and what we should see.
You don't think the world thinks we should like the Beatles?
I think if you come across it and come to it on your own time, in your own way, and you like them, that's fine. I think if you had come eventually to see Jaws, that you might be a fan of it. But because you hadn't seen it yet, and then you had the world and the people around you saying, that's insane, you should see it. Yeah, how have you not seen it? And I think that's maybe the same thing that I got from Bruce Springsteen over the years as I became more into music. People saying, Bruce Springsteen, he's, awesome. He's the best. He's great. And so a little bit of me, and I think maybe a little bit of you for Jaws as the example, are just like, well, you know what? You're telling me to do that. I don't like doing what I'm told to do. So I'm not going to bother with that right now. I'm going to get into something else. And had I come to Bruce Springsteen on my own, maybe I would be a huge, huge fan. And had you come to Jaws on your own, you might think it's the better movie. And maybe that's a part of it. Maybe there's just this, and again, maybe it's subconscious, except now we're talking about it. So maybe it's something we'll have to think about more, but maybe there's this thing where, and I think we've talked about it a bit before too. It's like we prefer coming to things on our own. We often prefer to keep it ourselves. Like we'll let it, we'll enjoy it, and we'll maybe share some things here and there with other people, but we don't necessarily want everyone to know what we're listening to or something like that. And maybe that's what's going on.
At the end of the day, how I first heard Bruce Springsteen is probably even more underground than how I first heard the Beatles, because the Beatles had a whole generation, was everywhere. How I could have come to Jaws or The Godfather. How did I come to Star Wars? It was there. My parents bought me a Play-Doh set and a toy X-Wing fighter, and then suddenly I loved it. It was given to me. I didn't stumble upon Star Wars.
But you didn't have your dad hovering over you.
He's not a ghost.
And talking to you about how great these toys are because they're based on such a great movie, and you've really got to see this movie. I can't believe you're 3 and you haven't seen this movie yet.
Yeah, no. Well, why would he not believe that? He was my only ride. So if I hadn't seen Star Wars at 3, that's why. But here's the thing: I had an older brother who did do that with comic books. I had an older brother who did do that with some music. I had an older brother who did that with movies, but mainly with comic books. And I don't know if there's anything more important in my life, maybe cartoons, than comic books. So I wasn't turned off of that. He was a gatekeeper. We've talked about this before. Maybe 51 is our maximum episode. Maybe we've talked about everything. There are gatekeepers to things that get us to things. And sometimes those gatekeepers are mentors and heroes, and what they're gifting us, granting us, showing us is theirs, and we get into it. And from that, we find other things. But then other times,
but those gatekeepers are your brother or your best friend or a good friend, or maybe someone you know who you respect.
All of my friends like Radiohead. I hate Radiohead, except for the Bends. So I don't know. Radiohead.
Well, I'm just saying, like you in college, those people telling you that they are shocked that you haven't seen Jaws, these are new people to you. You haven't established anything with them yet. And so you've got these strangers, quote unquote, telling you how to think. I've got music magazines and music blogs and best of lists from people I don't know telling me which albums are the best ones that I should listen to. And sometimes I take from that what I want, but if I keep seeing the same Bruce Springsteen thing, maybe I get turned off by that. And maybe if some stranger's coming up to you and telling you what to do, I think it's different when it's your brother. When it's your brother who you respect, who you've lived with, who you've played games with, he's opening up a world that it's like, wow, I respect him. If this is something he likes, then maybe I want to give it a shot. And so, yeah, you don't get turned off. I think it might depend on where it's coming from, who's giving you, who's holding that gate open.
I can get that. I mean, honestly, my brother also a big Bruce Springsteen fan. But, and I think he's seen Jaws. I get what you're saying. I guess what I'm struggling with, what I'm trying to figure out, and what is why, you're saying maybe it's subconscious, so we're talking about it. Why does this conversation exist? Why is it so important to distance ourselves from this pop culture, which is what we're doing by making the statement, well, I'll never see Jaws. I'm distancing myself from the work. It's not just that I haven't seen it. It's not just that, maybe I'll make some time. And it's not even just like, I don't really want to see it. It's just, I'm not going to. I'm creating a divide, a chasm, whatever the word is. And I don't know, I've lost track of where that comes from, because the people who were saying, you've never seen Jaws, have stopped saying it. I've known them longer than Jaws existed the first time they said that. The people are like, Twin Peaks, how did you never watch Twin Peaks? Got tired of telling me that. My friend Nate got tired of telling me you should really watch Twin Peaks. So it's a joke, but it's done. Like, nobody cares anymore, except for me, because I didn't, and this might be why. And maybe this is where it wraps up, or maybe we go on to the rest of our list. No, maybe this is where it wraps up. The period of my life where I was really finding my own, not finding the art, but finding the art that made me who I was. The period of my life where I made sure the spines of my CDs showed The Replacements, showed Mary Lou Lord, showed, I'm blanking on the bands that were important, but the time of my life that did that, the time of my life that made sure, well, when they walk by, they're going to see the Tank Girl poster outside in the hallway. The part of me that did that in life was the time when I developed the I don't like Jaws mentality and spoke it, or developed the, well, I'll never see the Godfather mentality and spoke it. So it was a period, this rebellious isolationist period that I get of my 20s. That, that was the time that people in college were challenging, how have you not seen this? So 20 years on from that, because now I'm 42, the inability or the choice not to let go of that, because it's still there, has nothing to do with the movie anymore. It has everything to do with that 21-year-old or 22-year-old and not wanting to fully let go of youth. Not wanting to let go of the time when it mattered that I had a snotty opinion, not wanting to no longer find value in this contrarian attitude of, I won't ever see Jaws, or Bruce Springsteen's too much Levi material to handle. And I guess that's odd now. And that's the constant struggle for me with pop culture, is how much of this is still important and how much of it is just can't let go of this period, which in this case of this episode's topic was a period in my life where it was so important not to like the mainstream, even though I like the Beatles. And I gotta, when am I going to get past that? Or am I? Because that's a problem, because at the end of the day, there's probably nothing wrong with owning a Bruce Springsteen album or sitting down for the hour or whatever and watching Jaws or watching the fucking Godfather, which is considered a classic. I think they grow the fuck up.
It's hard to let go.
Yeah, but
I think that sums it up. I think you're right. That's it's ingrained, and it's who you were, and that's something we miss. We miss being that.
It's probably true. And it's weird. I mean, it's not weird, but yeah. I mean, these things are movies first, and they become our culture, our pop culture, with how we not interact with them, but identify with them.
True.
And so, yeah, I don't know what the end game of that is, because I don't see that as still working anymore, but I haven't found exactly the way. Like I can be self-aware of it and treat it like a joke and have these sentences and conversation we're having now. But I think there is something deeper, which is exactly what you just said it was. And I don't know when that'll happen. Maybe if I did a weekly hour-long podcast about the pop culture of the 80s and 90s, I would find a way to talk about it.
That's a good idea. You should put that together.
Okay. So that's wrapping it up. That's the episode. Yeah, that can be the episode.
I think that's it. Next week, join us when we tell you what we thought of The Godfather.
I hope I have time. But until next week's non-Godfather episode, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to this bummer of a realization. If you want a couple more bummers of realizations, why don't you check out 20popcast.com. It's a website for this very podcast. It has the latest episode always streaming right there, as well as an episode guide that gets you links to all the other past episodes. You'll find show notes for each episode you listen to, and in those show notes, you'll find ways to contact us, keep in touch with us, support us. We've got a Facebook page that you can click through there. I've got a Twitter account @Subcultist and an Instagram account that I'm really trying to get people to follow. If you want to follow it, that'd be great. It's Subcultist on Instagram. I try to post relevant photos to what we're talking about, as well as some behind-the-scenes videos I've been trying to put up, just other things of how we're making the show together, and sporadically you get to see photographs of what I'm wasting my money on eBay.
You can follow me on Twitter as well at RHCanning. And I also have a music blog if you're interested in me not talking about Bruce Springsteen at all. You can check that out at superultramegamix.wordpress.com.
And be sure to forward some photos of those jean jackets, people, because I like jean jackets. No, God, what the fuck? I thought I had something there. I didn't.
That's okay. You edit these, so you can cut that right out.
Good. You're right. And then we could just end with your new catchphrase.
Stay classy. No, that's no good. What was it last? Fuck.
Right? That's how it feels.
It was
Stay cool, everyone.
Was it stay cool?
Now I'm gonna.
I don't think so.
It's along those lines.
Just cut it out from that episode and put it into this episode.
Cut it out, people. Cut it out.
We're disturbing the peace, but we won't let them make us sad. 'Cause kids like you and me, baby, we were born dead.
That's something I did. I never had a jean jacket.
No, I never liked jean jackets. I know people love them, and I'm not putting them down. But you know what I really don't like are jean jackets on people wearing jeans. Because that's when I'm like, where does that end? Because there's the belt, but then maybe there's the belt around it. Hey, do you like my late 80s comedy bit? And there goes a pair of pants wearing a pair of pants. I mean, you go, you put. I'm just dumb. I'm sorry. I I thought I had a point. But you were actually saying something. I'm so sorry I interrupted you.